Alright, today we're going to work on this truck. This is a 2007 International 4200 with a VT365. For anybody that doesn't know, the VT365 is the medium-duty truck version of the 6-liter that you find in the pickup trucks. There's slight variations. They're slightly different in programming, injectors, turbo, that kind of stuff. But overall, it's the same design, same basic engine. I bought this truck in a package. This one, and there's another one back here. This truck has a crane on it, as you'll see right there. And the way the story was told to me was they had a problem with the crane. It quit working or something. So they tied the crane legs up to stabilizer jacks, and they were driving it back to have it worked on, and it threw the belt off the engine. I don't know if it threw the belt and overheated. I didn't care. I bought it as a parts truck, so that VT365 did not matter to me. What was attractive is it has a manual transmission with a PTO on it. Now, since there was a problem with that crane, someone has removed the PTO, the pump from the PTO, I should say. So the story was it broke down, they had it towed in, parked it, and there it sat. Been sitting for years. So what we're gonna do is see if we can throw some batteries in it and see if it'll crank over or see what's going on. It's got a really nice cab. You can see here, the underside of that cab is in absolutely fantastic shape. And my rollback, as you may know, is not. My rollback needs a cab, and it could use a hood. This hood is in really nice shape. Look at marker lights even in there, usually broken. But there's no damage to the hood. It's got a good grill. And this side's good. That door just has a magnet on it that's been baked on for years. It'll come off. But like I said, it's been sitting for years. And we don't get too excited about interior condition because, you know, I have the best detailer in the West, so I don't get too worried about that. So fixed column, it's got cruise control. I believe it's a 6+1. Let's see. Yep, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So she's a Spicer 6+1. Reverse is over here. Here's first. Nothing too extravagant, you know, lots of mouse crap and stuff. There's the PTO knob right there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to put some batteries in it, see if we get any activity, and see if we can get this thing to turn over and see what it does. Well, positive and negatives here, but there's no jumpers for the next battery, and it's a pretty good indication when you see this that someone has stole the batteries and cut the positive and negative terminals off. So we'll have to do a repair here and put a fuse in line if we can get it to start. It's like the nuts for the battery are here. There's 4 of them. The hold downs are kind of here. The step, a couple of the nuts are missing, bolts, but I'll get it out of there. Alright, so I had this laying around. This is off another International truck, and it integrates the power for the ECM and ABS all in the harness. Same thing on the grounds. And they come out to one of these like this. So we're just gonna splice onto them, use some alligator clips. That way we got fuse protection because these are fused, and see what happens. Alright, get our little jumpers in, and these aren't the right gauge wire, but it'll be good enough for what we're doing. We got the hood open, and it looks like the story is correct, because right there is where that pulley is supposed to go. Water pump's still free. I bet the alternator and the tensioner froze up. Oh yeah, froze. Oh, the tensioner's good, alternator's not. AC's froze. Okay, well, we just won't be putting that belt on. Well, that's not encouraging. It's a coolant reservoir. It's a good possibility they ran her dry, or we've got a leak somewhere. where they overheated it and it all puked out of it. Dipstick, oh dipstick, where are you? Man, look at all that wiring in here. Well, if I can't find it, I guarantee an employee ain't gonna find it. Well, it has oil, and it doesn't appear to be over full, just down just a little bit. That's encouraging. So I don't know where that coolant went. Could be, I mean, so many things. Water pump could have went bad, radiator could have got a leak, hose clamp, reservoir could have cracked. Oh, look at this. We got some goo in the bottom of the air charge cooler pipe. That's not good. Could have been a freeze plug, a head gasket let loose. We don't know. It doesn't matter. We're just gonna see what we can do here. Next thing is, let's get to see if we can crank it over. It's been sitting for, I don't know how many years we just figured that out. 16, so 5.5 years. Well, the gauge cluster works. That's encouraging. And neutral. In case the clutch, that clutch may be stuck. Oh, it cranks. Oh, look, glow plug light just came on. Let's see if we got fuel. Oh, yep, we got fuel. It's coming out of that drain tube right there. So we do have fuel supply. Well, it's showing RPMs on the tack on the cluster, so I'm thinking it's got a crank signal. So we'll let the batteries charge a little bit. You know, it could be that all the oil for the high pressure oil system is all drained down to the pan over the years of sitting. We may have to pump it all up and, you know, bleed all the air out by cranking. All right, so we know we have fuel. We know there's no coolant. We have oil. So the next thing is we got to make sure we have a clear path for air to get into the engine. Anytime a truck sits and mice can get around them, sometimes they'll get inside the air cleaner and they'll pack it full of their nest, and you know, you can't get any air in there. 2014 at 260, it's at 310 now, so I think it's been in there for 50,000 miles. And we got some oil in there, not a large amount, but some. And we see through the air filter. Nope, I can't see any light in that air filter. So while we're cranking, we'll just leave that filter out. That way we're sure we're getting good airflow into the engine. Wanted to get a look down here to make sure there's no leaks anywhere other than that diesel fuel. Make sure everything looks kind of intact down here. Yeah, they've got the PTO disconnected. This is the cable. Right here it comes from the floor. And they've got it disconnected here. It's locked in that way. And unlocked. Okay. Alright. Well, wait for the batteries to charge up. I don't see the pressure line for the PTO. There's the reserve, the suction line. They must have removed that at the same time with the pump, I guess. Maybe they couldn't get the line off the pump, so they took it off there. I don't know. Alright, battery's been charging for about 15 minutes now. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but we'll give it a shot. It's amazing how much stuff they left in this thing. Under it looks complete. I don't see anything missing. Alright, there we go. Get that clutch in. Come on. There it is. Come on. There it goes. Well, nothing yet. Alright, I see an oil leak down in here. Get a light on the subject. Got oil right down in there. Come on, Streamlight. And if you look up here, you can see it down in there. You see the oil pulling. So I imagine what's happening is I'm cranking, I'm building oil pressure, and then when I stop and charge the battery up, what's filling in the reservoir is bleeding back down. So every time I crank, I've got to crank and crank and crank till I build oil pressure. So kind of a difficult situation here. Could probably get down there and see what's going on, if it's an oil cooler or what's leaking for sure, because there's a pretty good puddle down in there. Enough that it's coming out the front of the motor now. No drips on the ground yet. Radiator looks pretty good. Well, let's see what happens. I'll charge up a little more and then we'll see what we can see. See what will happen. All that time I thought I was charging batteries. That rear clamp had snapped off and it wasn't on the battery at all. So we're just gonna let it charge for a while and come back out. It'll probably be dark when I try it again, but we'll see. I know that beeping is annoying, but I has to have the key on for this. But look, there's 21 inactive codes. Air inlet temperature signal out of range, circuit PTO control circuit fault, injection control pressure unable to build pressure, power reduced matching the cooling system. I'll go into that and look. Makes me wonder. Power reduced matching to cooling system performance. I wonder. No info. All right, I'll go back. Back to our inactive. I'm sorry about that beeping. Power reduced, electrical system voltage out of range, of course it was. Injection control pressure unable to build, no, same one. Engine coolant temperature above critical level, so they've overheated it. So when the belt came off, they kept driving. Engine speed above warning level. Engine coolant temperature above warning level. Injection control pressure above or below. Unexpected reset. Low side to high side open on cylinder 1, cylinder 2, cylinder 3, cylinder 4, yeah. 6, 7, 8. Compression brake output circuit. Good lord. IDM relay voltage low. Good lord, man. There's a pile of crap here. I'm gonna record these and erase them and see what we got. T444E73, the VT365 60. They work off of like everything else. It has to have fuel, it has to have air, it has to have compression, and it has to have a timing and an ignition source of some type for it to run. So with looking at this, I want to look at the data, and we're going to get into the no start data, basically, where we can look at the coolant temperature, which says 57. That's about right. Battery voltage a little under 12, right at 12. EGR glow plug, oil pressure, and manifold air temperature. What we're looking for, IPR control. We're at 19% right now. ICP desired is injection control pressure. So it'll tell us what the pressure it wants to see, and then the actual is right here. We got 2 point some pounds per square inch. So we want to look at this stuff, and we want to see if it has the ability to build high pressure oil, because what happens is, I know this is annoying, I'll turn this off for a second. What has to happen is the lubricant oil pump that supplies lubricant oil to the rods and mains, the cam, so on and so forth, it supplies the oil to the high pressure oil pump. A high pressure oil pump then turns that oil into a much higher pressure. It sends that pressure into the injectors, and on the top of it is a higher pressure than normal engine oil pressure, but it goes on top of the piston and the injector, and the piston is what's called an intensifier piston. It's in a bore that's smaller than the bore where the oil comes in. So when you put that hydraulic pressure from the oil on top, and it takes that pressure and it squeezes into a smaller bore, it creates higher pressure. Then that's enough to lift the needle off its seat in the injector and let the fuel spray. Now, the oil is controlled coming in there, how long it's open, by the IDM, the injector driver module. It's an electric coil on top that pulses faster than we can imagine, and that's how it fires that, by letting that oil pressure in. The high pressure oil pump monitors the pressure on the, basically, let's say the rail of where the pressure comes in, and based on load, temperature, throttle position, things like that, it can dictate where it needs to have that pressure. So what we need to do is we need to see, when we're cranking, does this truck, this engine, have the ability to make high pressure oil? This is where we're at here. We want to see it building pressure. Yeah, let's see. Well, it's going to be hard to see here. 9 pounds, 15 pounds, that's nowhere near enough. ICP desired 1400. We got, you can see it's starting to come. Okay, so you can see it has the ability to build pressure. What we need to do now is look at the injector drive module. It took a little while to get the pressure going, but as you can see, it was coming up. I have done away with my jumpers, and I put vice grips on those wires because I was afraid I was losing connection. So we'll have to see if that makes a difference. But what I want to see now is I want to see the injector drive module voltage. It's not setting the codes. There's no active codes right now while we're cranking. I'm doing an injector buzz test on this, and I only got one to rattle. That's all. Which makes sense, because when it's trying to start, it seems like there's one cylinder that's kicking, but that's all, just the one cylinder. So that would make sense. I was doing an injector buzz test, and I just wasn't, it just didn't feel conclusive. Like, I couldn't get the same thing over and over. Oh, I just felt that connector snap. I don't think that connector was in all the way. Yeah, it was inconsistent. Like, one would buzz, then it wouldn't. I'd do it again, I could get two to buzz. I think the rest of them feel good. That's the ECM, the injector drive module. So I wonder, makes me wonder if that connection wasn't in all the way. Oh, look at this. This is a reman motor. Oh, look at that. You guys can't see that, can you? Right there. It was run on a dyno. Huh. Look at that. Well, I'll be danged. If I can find a date on there, that'd be great. Year model. It's underneath that. I don't know if I can read that in there. Huh. Wasn't that something? Dang streamlight. Yeah, I can't read it. Huh. Well, I'll dig into that some more. That's a pleasant surprise, isn't it? Alright, well, I'll do that buzz test again. We'll try it and see if they come alive a little better. Look at that. She's running. Oh, look at that oil leak. Holy crap. Well, we know it runs. Huh?
Can I put the hard brake on so I can let go?
Let your foot off the brake. I got the wheels chalked. Or the foot off the clutch.
Oh, okay.
Give me some throttle. Go up and hold it about 1500. All right, let up. All right, we can't run it too long. It's got an oil leak. Well, nothing else. She runs. Let me in there. I'm going to try the clutch real quick. Just scoot over. Calipers are froze.
Oh,
This is just a 6-speed, not a 6+1. There's first. It's not the calipers. It's the clutch. The pressure plate's not releasing. It's probably stuck. That's reverse.
Woo! Wow, she moved that time. Thank God we're not too close to something.
So the clutch just isn't releasing. There we go. There she's working.
Ooh. Gosh, it jerks so hard.
Well, it's because I'm smacking on that clutch pedal. Yeah. All right, she runs. I can't let it go. I'm leaking oil horribly, but let's see if it'll fire back up. I'll wait for that wait to start light. Shoot, that ain't bad. All right, so we got to investigate this leak. Go ahead and turn my scanner off. There we go. So not so bad. Not so bad at all. The oil leak is probably the oil filter base. The gasket's probably taking a crap, but man, look at that oil. Look how much oil it puked already. That's awful. Okay, well, if nothing else, we know it runs, we know it moves. Oh, I knocked my charger over. But all right, so now I just have to make a decision if we're going to move any farther with this or not. I don't know. I want the hood and the cab for my rollback. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, at least if I need it for another truck, I know I got a motor that runs. We can fix the oil leak then, not now, because once the cab's out of the way, fixing that oil leak's a lot easier. But it's, man, that's a pretty good leak. That is a pretty good leak. Anyways, hey, I guess that's enough for now. If we do anything else on it, we'll let you know. But right now, I'm going to call that a victory. Not so bad at all. After sitting for 5.5 years. So we'll still have to investigate the coolant. Like I showed you in the codes, stored codes, it was above temperature. So, you know, there's no coolant in the oil, but that doesn't mean that they didn't, you know, way overheat it and it all blow out the top, or, you know, leak out, or who knows. I don't know. Like I said, it is what it is, but I'm just happy she runs. That's a happy day for a truck that we bought for parts and it runs. All right, so curiosity got the best of me. I just wanted to find out what the leak was, and just took the air cleaner inlet piping, the tubing out of there, and it sure looks like it's the oil filter housing that's leaking, because it's wet right there up on top pretty good. Hard to see for the wiring, but that's pretty simple to seal up, you know. And it looks like it's running down here and then headed down the back, and then, you know, coming down the back of the engine back here. Stream light. I really like how compact and bright this is, but man, their circuitry just needs, I mean, it's constantly doing this, and I've tightened it up and tried to tighten it and all this crap, and, you know, because this will come loose here, but never fails, you know. It's always something. But yeah, that's pretty simple to fix. I'm not too excited about that. So I'm gonna start it up and let's get a look at it and see if that's what it is. Oh yeah, right there. And there it is. So what we're thinking was true, that you know, you would, anywhere you introduce a place where air can get in the line, it can let all the oil drain back down to the pan. So if it drains back down to the pan, then we have to fill the oil filter housing and then send oil to the high pressure oil pump. I think it goes that way. But regardless, anywhere you have a leak like that, then it makes it real easy for the reservoir to drain back to the oil pan. So then you have that extended long crank. That's why when we were cranking it, we would just about get there and run out of battery, and then it would you know, we'd charge battery up and then go cranking it again, and it wouldn't be close to starting because it had to keep filling this up. So that's not a big deal. That's pretty simple to fix. And we might even go ahead and do that just so we can drive it around and see what it does. I don't know, maybe it's not a parts truck as much as I thought it was. Looks pretty decent up other than that. Turbo looks like. Oh wow, that's got to be the best turbo I have run across in a long time. There's like nothing there. Wow. Okay, and this truck's got some miles on it. The odometer showed 310 and the ECM showed 310, which that's usually pretty optimistic on a VT365. I mean, I see failures at the hundreds and stuff like that. Still doesn't mean it's a good engine. It just means that, you know, it runs. Doesn't mean that it's going to go down the road okay, because we still have the coolant issue, which if we put coolant in it, pressurize it, or put a vacuum on here, and maybe we can see if it'll hold before we get too excited about it. See where we might have a leak. You just never know. I mean, it's sat for a long time, so the likeness, we could have a rusted pipe for one of the heater hoses. You know, the freeze plug could be rusted out, a cooler line could have split, whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. At least it runs. I'm happy with that. All right, so when I lost the ECM power, I wiggled this wire right here, and I got power back. So I don't know if there's a problem. That looks like factory connection right there, or at least a well done connection. Something isn't right because I wiggled it. Oh, you can feel brake right there. Okay, it must be corroded inside there. All right, so we'll just eliminate that, and we're gonna solder in a good one. Strippers. Man, look at that. Pretty flimsy. Alright, so I'm not going to be using these ends, so put a little deox on the end. Now we're just going to use some heat shrink. I've got the heat shrink over the end of it a little bit. What we're going to do, this heat shrink will not shrink up and seal up, but it'll get small enough. So then we'll take this, bend it over. So it's best to do this when it's warm if you can, because it's more pliable. And you can get this on there, but it's just so hot. There we go. Look, the adhesive's coming out. You see it? Fold it over like that. That helps to seal the end of it. Put this one. I may have to go get the next size up. This may not work. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get the next size up. Alright, so I got this all neatly zip tied up underneath here. I don't cut this any shorter than it needs to be, because if you ever decide to move the batteries or add a fuel tank, you know, leaving that long helps. And a lot of guys see this trick I do all the time with the zip ties. I twist them off so you can't get caught on them. A couple guys mentioned that I've talked about it too many times. Yeah, that's unfortunate for them. Anyways, so it's all tied in. We're as far as we're going to go on this truck. That's it for now. Catch you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed.